We'll begin with Carlos, who will get up and we'll do the video. Then we're going to have Stephon Eckles get up and talk for a little bit, and then Celedonio. So please give them your attention, and I'll get this TV set up. Come on up, Carlos.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us here. Also with us is Tiffany, as a concerned citizen, and Heather, Stephon's wife, and their two beautiful children. My name is Carlos Ruiz. I am a community organizer for Middle Tennessee Jobs for Justice, and I am working along with the Ironworkers to organize. They are organizing themselves, and I'm organizing the other workers to change their industry. That's not an easy task, but they are moving forward in their efforts. So I help them, I work with them, to build community support, like these kind of events, so that they can, achieve their goal, which is, better working conditions, benefits, fair treatment. And we are going to show this piece from News Channel 5. It's an investigative report which will give you, a very broad perspective of this issue. Well, the workers are, as I said before, they're organizing us against this injustice, and I'm going to invite Stephon to present part of the campaign. The name of their campaign is Reinforcing for Justice. That's the name of the road process that they are leading.
So far we've been organizing for about 3 months, and we've been doing it through trying to organize workers and give them opportunities to get some of the jobs where the contractors are paying more, having safer conditions, and so far we've helped 30-something workers get to better jobs, and we've done that through just showing up at the job sites where the work's going on, and talking to them and letting them know that there are better opportunities than what we're being given right now. And there are people out there that do appreciate their work a lot more, and we go visit them at their houses and have conversations with them, and it's really starting to make a bigger difference for a lot of people. And we've been also trying to organize community leaders and reaching out to different faith leaders and trying to organize support for our campaign, because it's good relationships for us to make, getting in rooms like this where we can meet all the people like y'all who are receptive and understanding of the situation of injustice. And it's really been making a difference. The support that we've been getting from people like y'all has made a huge difference in it so far. And the way that they're running these companies is taking a huge effect on all of the local economy, because there's close to 200 workers that should be earning $5 to $10 more an hour, and that's a lot more money that we have to spend at all the places that we go regularly. Landlords, a lot of people are having trouble making their rent all the time. That would be a whole lot steadier, a whole lot. Everything, the whole community would have to be better, because a lot of bad situations would be avoided when the people put in the effort and put in the work to not be in those situations to begin with. And we've held different actions trying to raise awareness and force some change, put some pressure on the people that are causing all this to happen. So far we've had 2 rallies at the Westin Hotel that was shown in the video, and Friday we went to the developer of a couple of major projects in Nashville right now, and they own a lot of the office space, almost all of the office space in Nashville. We went and tried to have a meeting with their executive Friday, and all we were told was we've sent letters and made phone calls, and we've walked through the door and asked to set up meetings with this guy for 2 months probably. And so we went Friday. They told us the only answers they could give us about getting a meeting with this guy was there were no answers. They wouldn't tell us the correct way to go about getting a meeting set up. All they would say was walking through the door and asking for one, sending letters and asking for one, calling the office and asking for a meeting. All those were the wrong way. But they wouldn't give us the right way to request a meeting. They called the cops on us and forced us to leave the building rather than just have a 10-minute meeting. So we're planning on organizing more events like this, because if nothing else, it lets people be aware of what kind of people, what kind of businesses these businesses really are, and we'll be the ones that make the change in them. If there is going to be any change, it's going to come from just a big group of people knowing how they operate. And I think now I'm going to pass it over to Celedonio, and he's going to speak for a few minutes. Thank you.
So before Celedonio speaks, I would like to say also that First Unitarian Universalist Church in Nashville, Pastor Gail Seavey, she has been very supportive, and her assistant pastor, Megan Robert, she has been with us to these events, to these actions in which we go and ask for a meeting to these developers, CEOs, or vice president of these big companies. And she has been very supportive, and as well as the church. And as Stephon said, yes, the workers are doing a lot of work, a lot of organizing, but it takes it takes the community, it takes the elected officials, and everybody else that is involved in the construction business, to make this change happen.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you very much to everybody.
La historia que acaban de escuchar es muy importante para nosotros, para cambiar la industria.
That video that you saw is very important for us, so that we can change the industry.
Y le pedimos, si alguien está interesado en apoyarnos, nos pueden firmar el Pepito.
And after seeing this video and listening to Stephon's story, we want to ask you to sign this petition in support of the Ironworkers.
Le agradecemos su apoyo.
And we appreciate your support. Well, thank you very
And we'll make sure that we'll also have the clipboard during our discussion circle, and we'll have it on the table during our break too, if you want to sign. I wanted to share a couple things today. One of these is slightly unrelated, but I felt it was important enough. I wanted to bring it to your attention today, and then we'll get back to the plight of the rod busters. This morning, I saw a news story, and I didn't believe it was true. I thought it was one of those stupid hoaxes that goes around where people misquote somebody or are just out and out lying, and then they post it on Facebook and it goes all over and everyone looks stupid for forwarding it because it wasn't true. Sadly, this one is true. This is the Lieutenant Governor of our state, Ron Ramsey. After the shootings in Oregon, said some truly amazing things, and I just wanted you to know what's going on because it applies to us in a way. He said the recent spike in mass shootings across the nation is truly troubling, which is absolutely true. Whether, and this is where it gets really weird, whether the perpetrators are motivated by aggressive secularism, that is, you are the targets of that statement, jihadist extremism, or racial supremacy, their targets remain the same: Christians and defenders of the West. While this is not the time for widespread panic, it is time to prepare. I would encourage my fellow Christians who are serious about their faith to think about getting a handgun carry permit. I have always believed that it is better to have a gun and not need it than to need a gun and not have it. Our enemies are armed. We must do likewise. This is the Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee calling out you radical secularists and encouraging Christians to carry weapons like Jesus did. It's mind-blowing in so many ways. This can't possibly be true. So I went to his Facebook page, and there it is. Now, someone may have hacked his account, but it's got thousands of comments, and he hasn't come out and said, no, I didn't say that. So now we are encouraging our citizens to start a religious war, almost. That's how scary this is. So anyway, I had to share that. I'll be keeping an eye on that development. But I want to come back to the story here. Back in August, I met with some of these men and a few others. They had reached out to churches in the area and said, this is the situation. We are trying to make contact with people in the communities and get to know them. We would love for you to sit down with us and hear our story. And I said, sure. So we met right out here in the fireplace room. And after I heard what they had to tell me, I said, we would love to have you come and speak at our church. Which they were a little bit surprised, because normally I don't think you get invited on a Sunday morning to be part of the service. You can certainly speak at churches, but I said, no, this is the sort of thing we would do on a Sunday, because Unitarian Universalists do care deeply about social justice issues. And one of the reasons this is so important ties directly back to a sermon you may have heard here a few weeks ago when Bob spoke. If you remember, he was talking about what hope do we have to offer the world. If you get rid of some of the standard answers, claiming to know things about the hereafter or about God's mind or whatever that you really don't know, what concrete hope do you have to offer? What do Unitarian Universalists have to offer? And one of the things I said to Bob as we were talking about it afterwards is, this is why social justice issues are so important in Unitarian Universalism. We agree to disagree about theology and philosophy, and we understand that we all see things differently. But when it comes to how we treat our fellow people, we see together. We see with one eyesight, you might say, that you don't take advantage of others. You should not. And those who do should be opposed. This is a hope we can bring to the world. With all the uncertainty and all the unknowables, we can know that people should be treated fairly. And that is one of the hopes we do have to offer, the concrete hope. Now, I don't need to tell you, because I know you, that this is a serious issue. You got to see how people are making tons of money off of the hardship of others. Some of the things that this story didn't quite get across to you. When Stephon got hurt, he did have a hard hat on, and his head still got seriously injured, and he was laid in a van for the entire day. He was not taken to a hospital. He was not given medical treatment as he should have been after suffering a head injury. The vans that they ride in are not even safe. They don't have seat belts. Sometimes they don't even have seats, or the seats aren't secure. They don't get paid for all that hanging around waiting time. They only get paid when they actually get to the job, which you might say, okay, that's fair. But if, as an employee, you're forced to sit around for a few hours before you actually get to start working for one reason or another, now it doesn't sound quite so reasonable. You know, people are literally putting their lives at risk to build these buildings and don't have health care coverage from their employers. There is no justice in some of the things we heard today. And so that's why I said, you need to come and talk to us. And I said, not only do we have a service where we want you to talk, we're going to make a circle afterwards, and we're going to talk again, where people can ask questions and go deeper into this so you can find out more. So it's not just hear a lecture and then go on. Ask questions. That's why they're all here. We want to see what we can do to help. And one of the things I offered to them at that point was, if at any point you are sitting down with people, your employers across the table, to try to negotiate, and they did say they wanted community representative there to help them. I said, you just call me, I will sit down there with you. That is the very least I can do and would be happy to. There are many other ways to help, and we'll come back to that. But the exploitation of workers is a crime as old as civilization. As long as there's been an employee-employer relationship, there have been employers who don't give their people what they deserve and take advantage. That's not to say all employers are like that, of course not, but there are plenty who take advantage. Those who care about their workers find that their workers are loyal, that their workers don't leave them, that their workers can actually find meaning and enjoyment and value in the work that they do, because they know they are cared for, cared about, and treated fairly. And then those who are abused or taken advantage of, there's not loyalty, and they'll move on, as well they should. And that's a lesson for all of us in the way we treat people. Go the extra effort, give people what they deserve, don't take advantage of people, and there will be friendships and community and loyalty from that very basic decency that's so often lacking in our world. Now, the stories that you've heard and the stories you will hear in the next hour, although outrageous, are sadly all too believable. Many of you have been through situations like this with employers who've treated you badly. I've heard the stories. I know I've been through times like this too, where you've been lied to. You weren't paid what you were promised. You weren't given the benefits you were promised. Taken advantage of. We understand because we've been through it too. So when I met with these men, I asked them, what could I do? What could we do? We're a small congregation. There's not a lot of us, and we really don't have a lot of power in the town of Tullahoma. And they said, that doesn't matter. We want to share our story with you. We want to get to know you. We want to build relationships. That's what we want to do. And I said, if that's what you want to do, we can help. Please come. And so we set up this time for them to come out here and be with us. I hope you can stick around for the discussion also, because I think this is very important. Over 100 years ago, a Unitarian minister, John Haynes Holmes, which you probably haven't heard of, but you've heard of some of the organizations that he has helped to found, because he was the co-founder of both the ACLU and the NAACP, a Unitarian minister, and he wrote this: poverty in this age, as in every age, in our country, as in every country, is primarily due to the fact of social injustice. That employment cannot be had by those who are ready to work, that employment, even when regular, is not paid enough to enable the faithful and efficient workman to guard against illness, there's your health care, to protect his widow from dependence, or to provide for his old age. Cannot take care of his widow if he dies through insurance, cannot put money aside for savings for his old age. That insufficient wages force thousands of families to crowd into unhealthy tenements, to eat insufficient food, wear insufficient clothing, thus paving the way for physical weakness and disability. That accidents, how timely, that accidents rob the wage earners without compensation from society, that taxes are inequitable, throwing the chief burden upon the poor instead of upon the rich, that natural resources, which are the basis of all wealth, are in the hands of the few, instead of under the control of society at large, and are thus exploited for the benefit of the few, and not for the sake of the common welfare. That the distribution of wealth is grossly unfair and disproportionate, in the final analysis that society is organized upon a basis of injustice, not of justice, and is permeated by the spirit of selfishness and not of love. He wrote this over 100 years ago. He could have written it today.
Yeah.
Reverend Aaron McEmrys, who is a interim assistant minister and director of social justice at the First Universalist Church of Denver, created a curriculum called There is Power in Union, a Unitarian Universalist guide to supporting worker justice. And the reason I quote from this is he offers some ideas on ways we can help workers who are seeking justice. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but here are some that we can certainly do. And the very first one was interesting. It was join workers when they meet with management, which was the very thing we had discussed. You could volunteer to count votes at a union election. You can write letters to editors, politicians, and employers. Participate in marches, sit-ins, picket lines, and other worker actions. Get involved with any Jobs with Justice type programs, workers' rights boards, and things like that. Support living wage campaigns, which is going on right now in our political world. You can have people come and speak at your church. There, we can check that one off. We've done that. Most of all, let working people know you are here to support them, and when they call, make sure to answer. That's why we had this service today. It's a little unusual, didn't follow our normal format, but in some ways better than our normal format, I think. During our discussion the next hour, we're going to hear more about their situation. This is your chance to ask the questions, find out other things that have gone on, because they could have gone on for much longer telling you story after story of the things that have happened. We'll find out how things have improved, because we heard that there has been some mild improvement. And most importantly, what else we can do to help, to take a stand, to be something in this community other than a place where we meet on Sundays, but a place where we can actively participate in the fight for social justice.